Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Neuroscience for Change, Leading Organizational Transformation. My name is Tim Morton, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by two amazing experts. And one is Pauline Melnick, a master certified coach and a change specialist, and Tibase Vera. Tibase, did I say your name right this time?
Perfect this time.
Excellent. A neuroscientist and the creator of the Pepe model. So I'm so excited. This is the second webinar that we've done together, and the feedback from the first was incredible. So I'm super excited about that. And when we think about the topic today, we know change is accelerating, and leaders are being asked to do more, to drive faster, to do it with less resource, and often without that ability to pause. And that pause is so needed to truly support people. So, in neuroscience, it provides that powerful lens to understand how individuals and groups respond to disruption. It helps leaders avoid burnout, resistance, and disengagement, which we're hearing all the time. So this is going to be an incredible discussion today. And I'm just going to pop to the next slide. And I love this quote. I think it's wonderful. You don't manage change after the fact. We design the human side up front, using the Pepe model plus sentiment, the pace of work to preempt pain and commit leaders to fast decisions.
Yes, it gives us that one little piece, right? Which is that bridge between what's really going on and what are they actually feeling and doing. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah. Awesome. And here's our agenda today. We're gonna give you a bit more of an introduction to all of us. We're going to talk about why neuroscience. We're going to talk about harnessing the Pepe model, and then a bit about insights to action and how we tie that to neuroscience. Talk about neuro-friendly organizational leadership and transformational change strategies. And along the way, for those of you joining, please do use the chat for Q&A. We welcome your questions, and we've allocated time for them. And for those that are watching after, I'm sure you're going to love this discussion. We will be sending a link to the recording after, so you can revisit, and we'll be providing everybody's contact information from Pauline and Tibase.
Thank you, Tim.
So just from my background, I'm one of the co-founders of Prompt AI. I've been leading change and transformation my entire career. 3 types of major transformations: a lot of M&A integration, all about the people, the culture. A lot of digital transformations, and certainly culture. And with that, over to Pauline.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Pauline Melnick. I'm a change leader here and change specialist across Canada and North America. I'm a master certified practitioner as well, and through the Change Management Institute, and absolutely love my connection to mastering coaching, and with the ICF International Coaching Federation. I teach, I train, I consult, I do the coaching, and it gives me a great opportunity to bring this forward, this webinar, and hopefully I can give you some practical tips of what leaders have been talking to me about, not only in their coaching sessions across many different industries, but it also gives me a chance to talk to you about real life practice and using the Pepe model in an organization to achieve some amazing change results. So thank you, Tim. And I'm going to hand to Tibase. Tibase, welcome.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. TV Sai, you can call me TV. That's much easier for everyone. Um, and a change manager as well a neuroscientist. So in fact, I didn't start my career as a neuroscientist. I studied neuroscience about 14, 15 years ago. I went back to uni and studied neuroscience. And as a result, I'm the creator of the Pepe model that we will be talking today about that, and a co-author of the book Neuroscience for Change at Work, together with Melanie Franklin, which is the place where Pepe Mobile is sitting, and also the director of the International Academy of Neuroscience and Education in the UK. And I'm also a consultant, trainer, speaker, and yeah, I've been in change for about 25, almost 30 years of my life.
The experience on this call is incredible, and thank you so much for both being here, for being able to to share your thought leadership. And well, why don't we look to dive in? And I think the first the first one, and just thinking about our audience here, we've got leaders, we've got senior leaders, and sponsors, and and people managers. So I think just that question, why neuroscience now for transformation, and certainly why now with all of the resource constraints that we're seeing in the marketplace.
Yeah, there's many, many different things, Tim, around that as we look to what we're going to talk about today in experience around when we're doing implementations as change practitioners and we're actually coaching and leading others through the change as change consultants or leaders. Then we're looking at how do we actually manage this time constraint, this that we need to do more with less. We've got artificial intelligence that's speeding the process up, and we also need to have results very, very quickly. So I know that Tibase is going to walk us through the Pepe model and give us a chance to actually look at that. But you're going to hear from us how we actually implemented the Pepe model. And also what does that mean and what's relevant to our executive leaders at the moment is really addressing the need for more resources and or the way that we use change management, because often now we're in change management and project management. So they lump it under the transformation category now. So they're trying to do more with less, as always. So Tibase.
Yeah, and I would add also to that what is exciting about neuroscience is the fact that we just don't explain the human behavior. It allows us within that speed of life that we are and lack of resources to make decisions in a proactive way, to actually make interventions proactively before people become totally resistant to change or people become totally disengaged. We are going to talk about sentiment, and I think we are maturing in the market. I think people are starting already to understand a bit more about sentiment, and that I think is where neuroscience now become really powerful. It provides us tools that we can make interventions as we read the audience, as we read that feeling, that emotion, that sentiment. And Pepe Mobile is one of these tools. That's the reason why I use and I create Pepe Mobile to provide that tool. That's what say. And I can talk a little bit about the Pepe model. We can already start
Certainly.
to go straight. If I ask you, sorry, Tim, to move the slide one more time.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so what Pepe model is, it is just a tool. It is based on so many years research of neuroscience. But what is important, provide us with practical strategies and interventions, as I say earlier, to positively adapt to change, to empower people to change. I like to think that Pepe model, what it does is empower people to change. It allows us, once we have read the room a little bit and we have some sentiment, it allows us to proactively take the next step. As well, it can allow us to empower people even before change starts or before a huge transformation. I don't know how many of us are just before. I think we are all in the middle, but it allows us to that. And very quickly, how the Pepe model works is it got 4 domains, which basically are 4 big groups of research saying, why do we resist to change? Why change impact us so much? And that is because change is very painful. Even if we see the benefits, even if we like what we see, it is painful. It provides us discomfort. Second is because the change consumes too much energy. And as a result, our brains usually always try to save energy. Energy is very expensive for the brain. And as we know, change consumes so much of it. So there is a lot there. And the other one is a peaks and valleys. And later on, Pauline will talk a lot about the peaks and valleys. But our body, our brain is used and usually performs really well. And I would say to be able to sustain performance through time, our brain likes to have fluctuations of high intensity, reset, high intensity, reset. And that's what the domain of peak valleys show us. When we are in times of transformation, we tend to be all the time in high intensity and peaks. And the last one of why we're so resistant is because something called error signal, error detection. Usually our brain is usually searching our expectations and with reality and is making that comparison, living like, what are my expectations? What do I have? If there is any difference between our expectations and the reality, then it is going to cause a huge signal, which is the error. And obviously in change, how many times do we achieve 100% our expectations? Very hardly. So that's why we resist a lot. And if I ask you very quickly, sorry, Tim, to move to the next one. Most importantly, what Pepe does is once we know those 4 domains, it provides us around more than 33 strategies split into what we call 8 dimensions. 8 dimensions. So like, for example, for pain, it provides us a strategy about how can I decrease perception of pain. And also, how can I increase pleasure? How can I celebrate more? How can I release those good chemistry of endorphin, oxytocin, that it helps us to connect? Within the energy also provide 2 dimensions, which is what can I do practically? What interventions can I make to save energy in the stakeholders? And also, how can I provide energy? How can I provide the brain to energy that is not only eating chocolate or the brain searching through stress? And peaks and valleys, which is what Pauline is going to talk a good business case, how she implement peaks and valleys. I probably don't explain too much into that. And then the error signals, it provides also 2 dimensions. How can I do to reduce that mismatch between expectations and reality? How can I do to make that error that the brain is having smaller and smaller and smaller, to allow to release more dopamine and positive error signals? So that is very quick. It will make more sense once we go into the practical application that is probably Pauline. We can start with the peaks and valleys, and then I can come back to the pain and we show you how we've been applying it in practice. Pauline, if you want to start with peaks and valleys.
Excellent. Thank you. And so as we design intentionally into using the Pepe model, we can apply it to almost every project. Now, we do see the social medias about agile projects and maybe how we've sped up projects too much, and that we've now created this ability for leaders to say, look, let's just get in and let's just start doing it. But in that intentional design, and I'll ask you to move the slide, Tim, is that we've intentionally built in some clear bridge points between the movements. So in an agile project, you're going to be looking at your sprints. You're going to be looking at your times when you've actually moved things down. But I want you to think more than just building in time between sprints. I want you to build in time from actual process pieces. So process pieces that we built into this educational IT transformation that was going on is it gives us an opportunity to look at, from end-to-end testing to UAT testing, right? So we move from the end-to-end to UAT, and then we bridge towards process optimization, giving us a chance in process optimization to actually build in connection and also the component of collaborating in that process optimization. And process optimization was for the line area more than it was for the project team to actually deliver on the project. So think about how we combine that, how we bring people together, and we intentionally bridge those with time periods in which it gives the development team time to actually focus on the enhancements that need to be done. It gives us time to actually build in the actual roadmap and the pacing around the training, and understanding that you are now bringing in more people in that process. We opened it up to anybody that wished to volunteer. And so in most places, we keep end-to-end testing and UAT to a small, discrete group of people. We opened the UAT process up to anybody that wanted to come and be early adopters. And we had over 30 folks in that resource bank to be able to draw on, and then to begin those conversations with their faculties and bridge into the optimization. So as you're pacing that, what gives us an opportunity to actually look at is to use AI to smooth out that workload, to actually take in some sentiment during this particular time period. And that's where I'm going to invite Tim into the conversation in a moment to think about and to talk about how we actually used the insights tools from Prompter to actually help us leverage the sentiment and understanding those valleys, and to enable conversations around what was really going on. The bridges between training and go live gave us opportunities to help the workload and the workforce decompress. It gave them a chance to actually think about the trauma that they had suffered through a number of different change that they've gone through before. And I call trauma, the small t trauma, is where, change has been pushed and pushed and pushed, and now we're into the overload component. And it gave us a chance to actually look at how do we treat humans as humans in this process, and actually address some of those, understanding that, sort of as we bring the teams together, we're doing a lot of team development. We're helping them do a lot of go live stability and faster resolution. That's one of the key pieces that might be problematic as we move forward into operationalizing, is that we've increased the expectation for that high delivery, high touch kind of connection and change. The insights to action meant that when we get the survey, the insights tool result, we actually bring it forward, and it creates that common language in communications. I was able to speed up the way that we did communications, and our opportunity for us to really consider those moments, and to build in language in our communications directly from the input from the insights tool. And so that research that you do in that piece gives you an ability to actually design artifacts for the organization that are withstanding the pace of time, because it is the organization's language. And we can set the cadence in the roadmap then to monitor this high peaks and lower valleys so that we can build in the restoration that they need in those time periods. And in the plan itself, when we look at how to make prioritization easier for leaders in this particular moment, the combination between the Pepe tools as well as the prioritization that we get from the insights from the sentiment and the readiness, it gives us a chance to actually make decisions quicker from the leadership level, because they can now not take it just on, oh, we think that this is happening, to, yes, these are the signals and this is what we can place in time. So leaders are able to model and to actually build that into their leadership practice much quicker. So hopefully we're starting to look at some of these tools and as we move through, and it gives us an opportunity to make sure that we're working at optimum speed and pace and cadence, but within mind the natural cadence of how people do their work, and how we can understand when we're actually timing things and driving deliverables at the wrong pace for the organization. So we're taking into lots of consideration planned recovery, and we're taking in lots of consideration for the brain to do its best thinking, to create. And so many of the co-creation bridges gave us a chance to actually bring people together, have them feel like they were a part of something, have them co-create, or a space to actually reflect on what was actually going on. So it creates all of this intentional design. And I can say that by looking at the Pepe model and the insights that we gained, with the change plans, the communications plans, the training plans, were all being able to be designed and delivered upon without too many alterations in the delivery of the whole project. So it sped up the delivery. It was high touch, go live, and really humans in front of the change. And they felt supported and required very little interventions after we'd actually created the conditions for success. So Tim, I'd love for you to let us know how you supported me with those, sort of, and what you do with all of the other projects that I know that you do around insights and into action that I was able to take.
Perfect. And I was just reflecting, Pauline, on what you'd shared, and there's a bit of a paradox, isn't there, in the whole idea of if we're trying to keep running and not have those peaks and valleys. If we try and keep running, we're actually going to be further behind, because we haven't given us the opportunity to breathe. We haven't given us the opportunity to actually pause and to think and to reflect. And I think that's such a it's so big for people to just kind of changing that mindset. I was on a call with somebody earlier this week who happened to say, "Oh, I'm taking a vacation," and they're always they go from leading a big complex change, and she said, "Every time I go on holidays, I'm sick." And so her body is telling her, but
they're
it's
not able to do anything. Like, I had this conversation with the executive leader the other day, is that, we schedule folks and they might be 100% on the project, and the project manager is trying to schedule 100%. No, as we schedule individuals, and our total scheduling should only be 70, 75% max, because people have life happening. And if we're burning them out and they're giving so much at work, there's no space for them to actually recover. And they're taking their recovery time from home. And so when, particularly I was working with a young team and life is happening around them, right? So it's a case of actually understanding that we can build this in. We can look at the roadmap. We can adjust from a project management point of view and stop driving so hard, but get better results and a quicker delivery by building in these intentional spaces of time, and sort of having the leaders appreciate those spaces in time. At the moment, I have those leaders in actually a whole month of regenerating, so that they can come back to it with fresh minds. They've been on it 2.5 years, and now, so I said, they need to stop for a bit, right? And they need to actually regroup. So we actually do the regrouping in the next couple of weeks, and so then they'll be moving forward.
And I say something
I love
also
it.
from the neuroscience perspective, that reset time, those valleys on the top of helping the burnout, is actually helping the creativity and the innovation. From neuroscience perspective, when we are in that, what we call it unproductive, which I believe is the most productive, into these alpha brains, more resting, is where the majority of gamma brain waves comes as a result. And that helps to release a lot of dopamine, which at the same time release a lot of energy and excitement. And these create natural insights. So insights comes when we are more relaxed. I mean, I ask you, everyone here, when do you tend to have those moments of aha? It's not when we are focusing 100%. It's when we are probably having a shower before going to sleep, running and so on. So as Pauline say, if we intentionally build those gaps and thinking, oh, is that week the one that we need the most creativity for? Well, let's build that. Let people go and rest. So it is both. It's helping people not to go into burnout, to actually sustain high performance, and at the same time, purposely use it when we need it, when we need to be more creative.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I give it to you, Tim.
Thank you. And I've seen, Pauline, you just put something in, which wonderful, into the chat. When do you have those moments of aha? And certainly and certainly for me, it is one of those things, as I'm right before I'm drifting off. Quite often I'll keep a notepad to capture those things, and that's one of those keys. But certainly we'd love to hear from others, so into the chat, and also Q&A for your questions as they come up.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's great.
So one of the things that one of the things that we want to talk a little bit about is AI enabled change. And for us, one of the things that we're working through is change is just accelerating. We've got a lot more complex change, and really we need to find new ways and new tools to manage through these changes when we're being asked to do more with less. And there's a lot of fear out there, of course, that AI is going to replace us. And what we know from a leader is the human insight is so important. You understand your team, you understand how they're going to react to things, you understand the institutional knowledge within the organization. And part of what AI enabled change is doing is giving better tools and better insights in order to support you in effective and timely decision making. Really understand the heart of what a potential problem is. Understand where previously hidden people-related risk, resistances and being able to get ahead of it before it actually becomes an issue or a problem. And Pauline, is there anything you wanna add here to this slide?
Yeah, and
Tiffany?
and it was through this particular AI and enablement, like this insights that came through is that we were able to lower the threat because it raised the safety controls in the conversations that we were having. It gave us that direct insight to be able to produce confidence in the team's decisions, and so they were able to actually do those one sources of truth. And ensure that folks were following it, that they had early previews, so there was no surprises, there was check-ins and opportunities in meetings, which really supported those executive sponsors, right? It really supported the delivery of the messages. We were able to produce those pieces, and the energy and the bandwidth that folks have around the working from home and opportunities to work from home and the opportunities to work in the workplace. We did meeting diets so that we had an opportunity to make sure that, they weren't just meetinged out, and intentional, sort of, as I said, team development and coaching during those moments as well. So it really helps us with, getting in those pieces, and an opportunity for buffering, sort of like even time around policy decisions that they make. So AI enablement in change, in particularly the sentiment gathering, it's picking up a lot more than we realize. And we can actually use those nuances without bias to actually help give visibility to decisions, give visibility to what's really going on in the organization. And it's just a nice way to do your readiness and your communications from your readiness there.
Indeed. And I'm just going to jump to the next slide. And I think that all ties to the whole insights to action. And with that, it's so important to be thinking about the peaks and valley. And one of the things that we've been seeing is that that ability to utilize AI enabled change and sentiment, but to actually do agile change sprints. And it really is with that lens of insight to action. And really, the idea of creating a movement where we get people involved and engaged. And I'll give one example. We get the research, we get the insights, we're able to within 24 hours come back to a leadership team and say, here's what your people are saying. Here's the key themes. Here's the issues to be resolved. And work with them on, over the next 6 to 8 weeks, here's your role. Here are the things, and have leaders commit to, these are the things that I'm going to work on to support moving this transformation forward. These are the actions they're going to follow. And then working with people leaders on the same, here's the actions, here's what we commit to. And being able to actually segment so that each one of the functional areas, they understand what people want and what they need, but they're also understanding the specific nuances for their area. And then, of course, for people, for all of the employee group to be able to come back to them and say, here's what we heard from you. Here's what you're going to see from your people managers and leaders. Here's how you get involved, you get engaged, you stay engaged. And I think the other key thing here is, in the past, one of the frustrations that a lot of leaders had from a change perspective was all of this upfront, 6 to 8 weeks, heads down, building out a change plan, a comms plan, an engagement plan. But now to be able to come and really understand what people want and need, and tweaking plans as you go along. So, Pauline or Tivase, anything you want to add before I move on?
Yeah, I would say this is the advantage of you say to have that sentiment, right? To understand what is happening in the audience. I give you a very quick example and then I can pick up on that. I was working with a finance organization where, as a result of listening, as you say, in what it is happening in the audience, trying to paying attention to the different words that people say and what comments they make in meetings. I didn't have prompt at the time, Tim. So my sentiment was more in gathering, in meetings, conversations. What is that sentiment, right? And it turned out that it was a lot of anger, frustration in that financial organizations. Once we deep dive into it, it kind of makes sense. They were basically consolidating us all silos way of working and so forth into an enterprise way of working and consolidating everything in one software, a new target. By doing that, we were killing and shutting down babies, as we say. We were shutting down babies of people who have been working on it for 15 years, for 20 years, right? And the good thing, once we brought this knowledge of Pepe and the different strategies that it offers, is right, what it people are feeling is kind of pain. When we have pain, we have that frustration. So we help to build, as you say, within the change roadmap, some routines, some help there in trying to help them to go and value what it has been done during the last 20 years. We kind of even create a funeral, right? In that funeral, we kind of we have sadness, but we kind of respect. We went there and we acknowledge what people have done. But it was only thankfully, it was only because we read that sentiment that it was in the audience. We read it with a different view, saying why there is so much anger, why there is that. And once you deep dive and you have tools which help you even more going in detail, like Pronta, then you can be very, very specific to take something proactively and to avoid all that trauma that we tend to have, as Pauline mentioned, if we just wait to the end.
Reducing that cognitive overload during that particular point of view, and you're most welcome to move the slide, Tim, is it gives us an opportunity to actually look at reducing, how much cognitive load is on each of your individuals. And, just think about, sort of what initiatives you could put into place when you know that this cognitive overload is actually happening. So how do we minimize that burden on them? And gaining that insight, that ritual piece, gives us an opportunity to actually lead in there. So I put in another question in the chat, which think about, and this was one of the questions that I asked leaders, is which initiatives should we pause during these peak weeks, right? So when they are really busy, what do they want to pause? Do they have permission to pause something? Because everybody thinks that we need to keep doing, but there are moments in which we can pause and you can ask that question, particularly of your team. And the other important question that you should be asking is, who's the delegate? If somebody's going to be away and you need decisions made within the next 48 hours, who's on that team? Who can make those decisions in the next 48 hours when you're not available? And thus actually lightens the team in a way that actually helps them navigate through processes, and they're not waiting on delays in their particular process. I'm going to hand back to Tim, and then I think, Tim, you're handing it to Tibby.
Indeed, and I was just even thinking about one of those things that's on this slide is that that the middle managers, and they everybody's got a difficult job, but so often what does happen is the leaders are getting an update. Quite often it's on what they'd like to hear, so often, as opposed to what reality is, and we're changing that with sentiment, where we actually understand what really is happening and what really needs to be addressed, and coming back with honest feedback, which is so important, but making sure it doesn't stop just with the transformation group and the project team and the leaders. We actually get to middle managers, and we explain to them, ideally before their teams, about what is happening, what is their role in taking this feedback and turning those insights into action, and providing them the guidance and a roadmap to keep moving their people forward, so their people get involved, engaged, and they're moving along the readiness curve. And one of the other key things, of course, too, is we have insights, we've got this feedback. It's so important that we turn those into actions, because of course, feedback for the sake of feedback is just going to frustrate people, because you've asked me, you want my opinion, you want my sentiment. What are you going to do with those key themes and those key messages? And that's one of the essentials.
What is it I'm doing? Yeah, what is it that you can do from there, right? Let's stop gathering just data, which doesn't enable, and actually use that to create that insight.
Yeah, it's so key. And Tivase, why don't I hand it over to you just to build and get your get your key thoughts and insights.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm reflecting on what you're saying about the feedback. And I think when we go back and we properly actively listen to that feedback, and we can act on it proactively, people will start to talk more and more and more. If we only collect feedback, but proactively we don't do anything about it, right? People will start to shut down. And it's so important from the neuroscience perspective that people speak up. And because when we speak up, it's a way to tell our brain to calm the intensity of our emotions. I know we don't talk a lot about emotions in organization. For somehow reason, when we talk sentiment, slowly people are buying in, right? Sounds more professional. When we talk about emotions, oh, thank you, that's not for me. They go hand to hand. And what I want to say here is the role of the emotions are tangible. All what it is energy and chemistry flowing in our body. And the role of them is to provide a message to our brain to change behavior. So why I'm saying that is because if I listen to the feedback, as I said earlier, people can speak more. And when you speak more, you express your emotions more, consciously or unconsciously. But when we express emotions and we speak out, that intensity of the sensations of the emotions in our body goes down. Only by allowing that, people will already reduce the anger, will already reduce that frustration that it could come, and so on. Or even excitement, right? Because sometimes excitement, if it's overwhelmed, it also is not helpful, right? That I have lived that, especially people who own the change. They are so excited about what is changing, that is so excited that it doesn't connect to the rest of the people. So we also need then to tell them in a more systematical way, so we can lower the level of emotion, also of the excitement. So being able to do that in a proactive way, and just when we want to do it, is so powerful.
Yeah, indeed. And even thinking about that, asking, as you said, asking people to speak up, but doing it in such a way as well that allows them to be psychologically safe and feel psychologically safe, that here's how your data is going to be leveraged, that we're really looking for those key themes, and then to be able to come back to the employee population and to be able to share, we heard, thank you, this is what's being addressed, this is what's being actioned. The power that gives to employees from a, hey, this didn't go into a black hole. It was understood. I didn't get in trouble for actually sharing my truth, and things are happening. And I'm part of that change because you took my sentiment, my feedback, and you've turned it into actions that are going to allow me to get ready and engaged for this program.
Yeah, agree. And as a result, and this probably I introduce a little bit another domain, which is I just quickly did for the errors. By bringing psychological safety, as you say, Tim, what we're doing from the brain perspective is that we are creating a predictive safety. Right? It's so important, we as a leaders, to create that predicted safety. We might not know what is coming next, right? We might not be able to match reality with expectations, but we could create a little bit of prediction safety, saying if we don't achieve our expectation, that's all right, right? What will it happen? What is the contingency? What can we do, rather than people to feel scared and afraid to talk? So that it is very important. I reduce that error signal, and reducing the error signal in the brain is so important, because the biggest the gap is between actuals and expectation, the biggest the cynicism is. My experience, cynicism is one of the biggest killers of empowering change and success in change, in allowing. That cynicism, that sentiment when we start to hear, oh, one more change, or they don't listen to me, another one of this is coming. What is the direction? Which direction are we taking? What it is for me? This is only for the benefit of few of them. All that type of work and sentiment there, it's because there is cynicism. And we can do a lot from interventions perspective using the Pepe model in closing that gap. And we can proactively, we can plan closing it. I give you a very quick tip how we can close in that gap. If we know we are going to have differences between actuals and expectations, the shortest we make, or the smaller we make the possible error, the better, right? So that, I think that is one of the advantages of work within Agile, for example, right? But even within Agile itself, the smaller we work, the smallest we do, the better. The error will be much, much smaller, and slowly we reduce cynicism.
Indeed. And Pauline, I think you've mentioned in the past that insight without action is theater.
It is definitely theater. And I mean, that's one of those examples, right? Which is if we don't reduce that cognitive overload in that particular moment, your brain is doing additional work and it just becomes theater. We're just actually just delivering on, sort of the next to do on the list. And it's not actually creating that next little piece. And so, I mean, you learn all about these when we deliver our full neuroscience course, and each of the little tips. The book is just an amazing way to actually keep, opportunities going. And I'm noticing that as we continue to look at the actions of individuals, we want to lead that communication forward. We want to lead individuals into that space of understanding how it is we can naturally produce that information And also, sort of understand that, if we see the signal, we can act on it. We can move it forward. I might get you to move the slide a little bit, Tim, and as we address some of the questions in the chat as well. Great question there, Carlos, around what is the best way to keep and improve your mental health in a work environment that involves continuous change, right? The thing is, one of the biggest things that I think, first off, is understanding that we are constantly changing, and that even accepting the fact that we are in constant change gives us the ability to reduce the cognitive overload. If we think that the initiative that we're going to do is somehow going to stop, it's not. So why are we fighting it? We need to schedule in our recovery. We need to schedule in our downtimes. We need to think about the roles that we're performing, how many different hats we're wearing, and those are going to increase, those amount of hats that you're going to increase, because we won't have any additional resources. So you have to find different ways of doing it. I could sit there and I could spend additional time to worry about crafting this particular message, or I can use the insights that are gathered through the Prompter AI tool and draft my message for the audience that is required, for the executive leaders, to understand from that particular point how to set up my next steering committee meeting. What's the movement between mindset that I need to change based on the information that the tool is giving us? And as we move from the Pepe model, I'm able to actually apply that and looking at those risks, and looking at the, sort of where it's no longer a HR issue. It really is a delivery risk for the organization. So you won't have the people there, right? They have life happening around them, and if you have not built in the time, individuals, mental health wise, will take the time, or their bodies will shut down. And this is the trauma we're creating on individuals, is that we are burning them out, and they don't have a flight plan for where they need to go in their work. So it's great insight. I think the insights matter, and we can push for recovery, right? So it gives us an opportunity to actually look at that. So great opportunity.
Yeah.
We've got some additional questions coming in as well, Tim.
Yeah.
So I'll just hand back to you.
Perfect. And I think just to that, I think it's leveraging those new tools, but also putting in boundaries. Like you said, even, you're going to be away for 48 hours. Those boundaries with, hey, somebody is going to be covering, they've got the authority, not reaching out. So yeah, indeed. And so we do have a question, and I think this is over to you, Tibase. Can you suggest some books for leadership through a neuroscience lens? Also some neuroscientists to follow in the area.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you want to learn about Pepe more, there is the book I wrote together with Melanie. It's called Neuroscience for Change at Work. You can find it in Amazon, anywhere. Neuroscience for Change at Work. So that's probably the ones if you want to go specifically for Pepe. There are other very good books as well. There is Neuroscience for Organizational Change, which is really good, from Hillary as well. She's not a neuroscientist, but she's a great change manager, and I have put this into practice as well. You can follow David Rock as well for the Neuro Leadership Institute, who have done very good books as well. So yeah, there is starting to be a lot of them. What it's not, I haven't seen a lot, is kind of neuroscientists write about it, but you don't need necessarily to be a neuroscientist as long as you have a lot of concepts.
Perfect.
I hope that helps.
Thank you. No, that's wonderful. And Pauline, I think this one's for you. we had somebody say, I love the concept of building in intentional moments, giving benefits of doing so. Curious how you sell this to PMs and senior leaders that want pace and go, go, go. And so please, your thoughts there.
Yeah, it's a great question, Joanne, because I don't sell it. I don't have to sell it. I actually demonstrate it. I demonstrate it in the actual movements. When they start seeing the implication on the team, the PMs buy in. I do it visually. I have a conversation and commit them and confidently, working with their teams to be able to do this. And yes, it's a coach approach to actually helping them actually think that it's their idea. But when they see it in movement and then you start the process, so by UAT, they began to realize, oh, there's something different here. And so they saw the vision coming to light, and then they lent in more. So this was that big piece, that big crush between where they were individually, they were push, 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 push. And then it was like, okay, we can't actually do that. We need to actually make sure that we actually have it going toward a delivery structure that actually enabled the team. And so when we build in those first intentional spaces and they see change of behavior, you're able to model it. And so, yeah, it did require a little bit of extra of my time, but that's what relationship building is all about anyway. And Tim raised it earlier. It's about creating that psychological safety in the room and modeling it, and then having your team around you model it for their stakeholders. And so that's one of the biggest things that the efficacy. And you're looking for a case study. Yes, I'm busy writing one. I don't know where we're going to publish it. Tim's convincing me to write it as we go through this, and we'll get something published. I think we did. I think we started with a teaser already, a bit of a case study, Tim, in one of your other blogs.
Yeah, indeed.
I think business cases are so essential in this question, right?
Indeed, and we'll look to share. We'll look to share with the group, and as we share out the recording and both Tibisay's and Pauline's contact information. But I just looking at the time, we've got to run. So I'm going to jump to the final few slides, and I'd love for Pauline, over to you.
No better way to learn about a case study than to actually hear it in practice. Come into our training sessions and we're able to actually do that. I'll be in Toronto downtown. We're running Neuroscience for Change in person. So if you'd like to register, please reach out to me, and I've got my contact details there. And an opportunity. We're also running the virtual one from Tibisay's group. We're offering a couple of discounts, so you can move those through. So for my courses, we've got the 20% discount offered because you're change leaders and managers in spaces that I work in. So, and Tibisay's actually offering 15% discount on the virtual. I offer virtual courses as well. So Tibisay is running hers there in December, and gives you an opportunity. But I really appreciate everybody's information, and ask the group if there's any last minute additional conversations.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we get these out to everybody. I want to say thank you. Please stay connected. And just in the last 30 seconds, I'd love both a closing thought, Pauline, and closing thought, Tibisay.
Yeah, there's an amazing amount of work that we can actually do, which is really thinking about checking in and doing our teams and working with our teams differently. And try not to sell. Try and model at every step of the way. Tibisay.
Yeah, and I would say, very from a neuroscientist, it's much easier to work with the biology, the neurochemistry in our side rather than against us. So trying to plan and to build things that trigger the right chemistry in people, then it's much
Wonderful.
easier.
Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your incredible insights. I've learned so much, and also thanks to those that have joined. And we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Pauline.
Thank you,
Thank you,
all the
everyone.
participants.